Let's just start with this idea, a quote from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. It's a line that psychiatrist Viktor Frankl believed was the key, not just to being mentally healthy, but to literally surviving.
So today, we're diving into Viktor Frankl's incredible work, Man's Search for Meaning. And this book, it's part memoir, part psychological breakthrough, written by a man whose own life became this tragic, unwilling laboratory for his own theories about human survival.
But Frankl makes one thing super clear right from the get-go. This isn't a book about all the big, unthinkable horrors. He says plenty of other people have already covered that. No, this is a deep dive into the psychology of it all. It tries to answer a very specific question. What did everyday life in a concentration camp actually do to the mind of the average prisoner?
Okay, so the story kicks off on a train. You've got 1,500 people jammed into these cattle cars, and they're arriving at Auschwitz. This is the beginning of a very deliberate, systematic process designed to just erase every part of who they were.
Now, from everything he observed, Frankl noticed that pretty much every prisoner went through 3 distinct psychological phases. The first one, as you can probably guess, was just pure shock, that period right after they were admitted to the camp.
And this shock was just fueled by this brutal, incredibly fast process of dehumanization. I mean, everything was taken. Your name, gone. Replaced by a number on your skin. Your clothes, your possessions, your wedding ring, all of it, gone. For Frankl, the absolute rock bottom was losing the manuscript he had. It was his entire life's work. And when he tried to plead with a guard to keep it, a seasoned prisoner just screamed one word at him: shit. And in that single moment, Frankl said he basically had to strike out his entire former life.
So after that initial shock started to fade, the prisoners moved into the second phase, apathy. You can think of it as a necessary defense mechanism, right? A kind of blunting of all emotions. To survive the constant beatings, the injustice, seeing death everywhere, you had to achieve a sort of emotional death. You just couldn't afford to feel anything.
And this is where we get to this incredible paradox that Frankl discovered. While a prisoner's physical world was just one of total misery and degradation, they could still escape into this intensely rich inner life, a world built from memory, from love, and a kind of spiritual freedom that the guards could never, ever touch.
He had this massive realization when he was at his absolute lowest point. He was stumbling on a frozen marsh, totally exhausted, in constant pain, and he started thinking about his wife. He just pictured her smile. He heard her answering him, and boom, he suddenly got it. He understood this fundamental truth. Love is the highest goal we can ever aspire to. The salvation of man, he wrote, is through love and in love.
And that discovery, the idea that your inner world could actually win out over your outer world, that was the turning point. It's what led him to his single most important idea, something he called the last of the human freedoms.
It really all comes down to this one question. When you're stripped of everything, your home, your family, your possessions, your name, even your health, what's left? What is the one thing that no one can ever take away from you?
And here's the answer. They could control your environment, they could torture your body, but they could never take away your freedom to choose how you respond to all of it. That inner freedom, Frankl realized, was absolutely untouchable.
And what this meant was that even in a place like a concentration camp, you could still decide what kind of person you were going to be, mentally and spiritually. And this wasn't just some theory. Frankl saw proof of it. He saw men who would walk through the huts comforting others, literally giving away their last little piece of bread. Now, they might have been few and far between, but they were living proof that this inner freedom was real.
So how did this incredible revelation shape his work after he was liberated? Well, Frankl took all these hard-won truths and he developed them into a whole new school of psychotherapy. He called it logotherapy.
The core idea is actually pretty simple, but honestly, it's revolutionary. See, unlike Freud's psychology, which is all about the will to pleasure, or Adler's, which is about the will to power, logotherapy is built on the idea that our deepest, most human drive is our will to meaning.
Okay, so that sounds great, but how do we actually find this meaning? Frankl didn't just leave it as some big abstract idea. Logotherapy actually lays out 3 very concrete paths that are available to every single one of us.
First, you can find meaning through your work, by creating something or achieving a goal. Second, you can find it through experience, by connecting with someone and loving them, or just by appreciating beauty in the world.
And third, and this is probably the most profound lesson from the camps, we can find meaning even when we're faced with suffering that we absolutely cannot avoid.
This right here, this is the radical heart of his whole theory. Suffering, Frankl says, actually stops being suffering the moment it finds a meaning. So when you're in a situation you cannot change, you are challenged to change yourself, your attitude, the way you decide to bear that burden. That becomes a chance to create a deeper meaning for your life.
And when you realize that, it leads to this huge shift in perspective. I mean, think about it. Most of us go through life asking what we want from life. Frankl argued we've been asking the wrong question the whole time.
The shift is from being passive to being active. We need to stop asking, what's the meaning of my life, as if it's some riddle. Instead, we have to realize that it's life that's asking us. Every single day, every single hour, life is posing questions, and we don't answer with words, we answer with our actions.
And this, really, is the ultimate conclusion. We as human beings contain both possibilities. We are the species that invented something as evil as the gas chambers, but we are also the species that could walk into those same gas chambers with dignity, with prayer on their lips. Which one of those we become? Well, that doesn't depend on our circumstances. It depends on our decisions.
So Frankl basically leaves us with this. It's not some vague philosophical question anymore. It's personal, it's immediate, and it's a responsibility. Every situation, every single moment is asking something of you. The only real question left is, how are you going to answer?